And we are live again, I reckon. Just happened, guys. And I know you guys are going to slowly leak back in. I'll wait until chat gets here. I don't know what just happened. Let's start it off the right way. What's going on, everybody? NBA Strategy Show, Wednesday, May 21st. If you're watching the 5-minute version of this video before it gets deleted, my apologies. At some point in time during the first 5 minutes, this stream just died. You know who didn't know that? Me. I talked for 5 more minutes, breaking down Oklahoma City and Minnesota. But it appears we're back up. I'm going to try to tweet that link out quickly, so at least people will sort of find it. But we'll wait till everybody trickles back in. Hey, chat, what's going on? What's up, everybody? Hi, Steven, Donnie, Chill One. I have no idea what happened. I was talking and talking and talking. Nobody was responding. I made a poll, then no one looked at it, and I was like, I'm going to assume I'm not live. And then I pulled it up on my phone, and I wasn't live. I was live in my software. I was not live anywhere else. I broke down Thunder and Wolves for like 5 more minutes. The only thing that I didn't do that I wanted to do, and this is where I realized it was broken, I wanted to take a look at the matchups from last night. But let's take a look here, because I think it's always interesting to see this kind of stuff. So for Julius Randle, primarily Jalen Williams, but, you know, it's still only 20% of it. Oh, I was long past corner threes. Long past it. I don't expect that Randle matchup to change. I assume that's just going to be Jalen Williams getting the primary assignment on Randle for most of this. Ant. Now, this one's kind of interesting to me. Primary defender on Ant yesterday, Cason Wallace for 6 minutes, and then Dort. That's not what I was expecting. That's not what I was expecting. I didn't think that he would be big enough. 2, I just didn't think he'd be out there that much, but he was. That's for sure. We'll see if there's any impact to that as the series goes on, if Wallace's offense falters at all. You know, because he's still young. He's still young. Then on the opposite side, Jalen Williams, primarily Ant, bit of Nickeil Alexander-Walker. A little surprised. I mean, I'd like to see what happens for Jalen Williams in that Nickeil Alexander-Walker matchup. That could be an interesting one. Shea's going to get everybody from time to time. I don't think anybody's going to have a ton of success. Yeah, the Isaiah Joe piece worked. Turns out not a Jalen Williams with a Y day. Kenrich Williams is the Williams you were looking for as another guy off the bench for OKC. Makes some sense. I think you see more Jalen Williams with a Y if Gobert's playing. I think you see more of Kenrich if they're small. If we look at Chet, who didn't exactly have a great first half, had a much better second half. I'm not going to read into 4 of 4 on Randle. That's nothing, but I don't think Chet's super worried about any of these matchups. And then Gobert's primary was Hartenstein. That's really not going to change much. I think they need Gobert. I think Minnesota's best option in this series is actually going to be using Rudy Gobert more rather than less. Because when Minnesota wants to go smaller, I don't think they're creating a better situation. I think that going smaller for Minnesota against Oklahoma City is probably just going to make things easier for Oklahoma City. And If the Thunder are small, I mean, like, is that going to be the worst thing in the world to them? I don't think they're going to care. I think they're pretty happy with it. I do want to look at the lineups quickly. Yeah, I didn't expect the minute and a half out of Jalen Clark at the beginning. That's for sure. All right, so for the game, starting lineup for OKC was actually -1. They only played 6.5 minutes together. Benched it a little bit better there. Nobody really leaked anything other than this -11 in 5 minutes for DiVincenzo, Walker, Reed, Edwards, Randall. Minnesota did go smaller a lot more than I expected them to. Ultimately, I don't think it matters. I just don't think they're going to be in this series. It's going to be really interesting to see what Minnesota looks like next year. But now, we got to talk Knicks-Pacers, everybody. Should I put the hat? Oh, should I drop the hat? Get the Knicks hat on here. Now, I don't have a lean on this series at all. It kind of feels like a series where the team that wins the series is the team that doesn't have an injury. It just feels like one of these teams is going to lose somebody to an ankle or something dumb, and then that's just going to be the swing point. I don't know, like, that's just that's how I'm feeling, and I don't want that, by the way. Looking at the results of the poll, 60-40 Knicks right now. It's a tight series. It's a really tight series. Indy does not record offensive rebounds. That is not their game. The Knicks are like average-ish, but certainly in like Mitchell Robinson minutes, you would expect the Knicks to be dominating the boards, I guess. I mean, Mitchell Robinson is one of the best offensive rebounders in the league. Steven, that wouldn't surprise me. They generate really good offense. But yeah, I mean, the Pacers' biggest weakness is going to be offensive rebounding or defensive rebound. I mean, they're not much of a defense. They're not much of a rebounding team at all. It's a lot of that has to do with Miles Turner. They are exceptional at not turning the ball over. I think that's a very interesting dynamic against the Knicks, given, you know, Bridges and Anunoby and Hart, Robinson to a degree. Indy, not a team that's really getting to the line in any sort of crazy way. Knicks don't foul all that frequently. The offense in this series should be really fun to watch. Really fun. Because these are two teams that are significantly better on offense than they are on defense. And what that ends up looking like, I'm not totally sure. Because, like, clearly we know the Knicks aren't doing anything different. You're getting Brunson, Hart, Towns, Anunoby, Bridges, Miles McBride, Mitchell Robinson, and like 5 minutes of campaign. At least in the beginning of the series. On the Pacers side, like, they got a couple extra levers to pull. You know, more Mathurin, less Mathurin, more Toppin, less Toppin, that kind of stuff. But even they don't have a ton. I think the most interesting dynamic of this series is the matchup when it happens between Jalen Brunson and Andrew Nembhard. Last year, Andrew Nembhard had no chance against Jalen Brunson. Andrew Nembhard's a really good defender. But when you get into these playoff situations, everything becomes a one-on-one matchup, and you're trying to figure out who wins it. And when we got Pacers Knicks last year, we found out very quickly Andrew Nembhard did not have the ability to win that matchup. What did he do for the past year? Is he stronger? Can he hold up in that spot? Can they get those stops now? Because last year they had to turn to Nesmith a bit more as that series went on, which is fine. But Nesmith, pretty foul happy. There will be situations where he's not going to be able to be out there. And then the next question is going to be, how do they slow down Brunson? Because they could not do that last year. How quickly can I get to those? Let's see. Knicks-Pacers 2024 series. I want to look at some of those. Oh, they're going to make this very easy for me. Thank you, NBA.com. All right, let's open this first one. So this was game 1 from last year. And if we take a look at Jalen Brunson, 7 minutes of Nembhard, 5.5 minutes of TJ McConnell, then pretty much nobody else. So let's think about that. 7 minutes for Nembhard. That's a lot. 9 of 12 from the field for Brunson in game 1. None of them can guard Brunson? No, Nesmith can. So that's game 1. Let's roll it back to game 5. That was a Knicks win. Game 5 matchups. Jalen Brunson. 7 minutes of Aaron Nesmith. 9 of 18 from the field, which is still pretty healthy. This was a Knicks win, by the way. Sometimes you just get great shot making. Offense as a whole wasn't insane, but that was the switch that they needed to make. We then go to game 6. Pacers pick up that win at home. Matchups in game 6. Six and a half minutes of Aaron Nesmith. Again, a ton of shots. With 33 points in 27 possessions. That's holding the team as a neutral. But again, you're seeing 1 minute of Andrew Nembhard in game 6. 2.5 in game 7. Or sorry, in game 5. What did the Pacers do in game 7? Man, I didn't see any of these games. That's so funny to think about where I was last year at this time. Game 7, Brunson. Much more limited because of the blowout. But again, Nesmith at the top of the heap. Are they going to go and try Nembhard to start? My guess is yes. My guess is yes. I think the Pacers start this series the same way they started it last year, which is the goal is Andrew Nembhard can guard Jalen Brunson. But when that happens, if it fails, I think that's what they're going to end up switching up. I'm running a sim right now so we could take a look at how projections look. But that's the biggest swing piece to me. The rest of the Pacers matchups, they all fall into place in the same way. They could change it by halftime. Absolutely. Because even if Nembhard is able to be 10% better than he was last year, that's a massive improvement for them. They just got to, Brunson figured out that he can get to his spot, and he was strong enough to clear enough space to get a pretty clean 15-foot look every time he took it. I wonder if I could get to that quickly. Final games last year, playoffs. What was game 1? What day of the week was that? May 6th. Okay. May 6th, Knicks, Indy. Full game. Jalen Brunson. I mean, he was just making buckets, man. 13 of 22 from the field. Just a shot maker. Just a shot maker. So good. All right, first sim is done on the DraftKings side. Team Cheek Out. I don't love this series for Halliburton, at least from a scoring perspective. All right, I'm going to set up a couple filters here and see what we're getting to. So, highest projected lineup is 219.6. So, I'm going to set a minimum FP of 198. Weird. Ownership is 199. So let's filter out some ownership. And let's see where we are. At the captain spot on DraftKings. Not a lot of deviation, not surprised. And this has been pretty par for the course for me in Showdown lately. Big stand, Jalen Brunson. If I'm going to get to Brunson, I definitely want to get to him more in game one. A little bit over on Towns, a little bit over on Halliburton, but the biggest stands that I'm taking is light Siakam, lighter Hart, but 2xing Brunson, and then it's kind of flat. Brunson at 16.5 in the captain spot, Halliburton at 15.9. Definitely prefer Brunson to Halliburton. Clearly, Towns is a wild card in this series. I mean, this is a infinitely better matchup for Karl Anthony Towns than it had been previously. It was a lot better than it was against Boston. Because it's not like Tyrese Halliburton can guard Towns. But in a Boston series, you're getting Drew Holiday. Anybody can switch on to him. Not the same scenario here. I don't think there's much to say about the captain spot. I really don't. What do you guys like? Let me kill that poll too. 60-40 Knicks. I think we're good there. Who's your favorite captain? And don't give me like Aaron Nesmith answers. You know, you got Brunson, Towns, you've got Halliburton, Siakam, and then Josh Hart is actually the fourth most owned dude. Gary says Halliburton. Man, I don't like it. I really don't. I think it's a really difficult series for Halliburton from a scoring perspective. Donnie says Hart. BD says Cat. Nolan says Halliburton. Infinite says Cat. Like, yeah, I'm obviously going to have some shares of the extra guys, but I don't see those guys as stands. Nembhard, eh? Nembhard. That's one guy I didn't get a single share of. Let's see if it looks any different at the flex. Positive leverage plays at the flex. Thomas Bryant at the flat 1K. That one's going to be not fun. If you're going to do that, you're going to want to do it probably early. I also think that he's live to not play. Whether that's 4 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you're getting out of Bryant. But in terms of value, you've got really two main paydown options. You've got Thomas Bryant at 1K, and you've got Cam Payne at 1K. Unequivocally feel better about Thomas Bryant. Probably a little overprojected to start the day. But in terms of value, he does make things easier. The other stands that I have over the field, Mitchell Robinson, who I like quite a bit in this series from a rebounding perspective. We'll see what Indy does with regards to Hack-a Mitch. I am a little over on Halliburton at the flex. Not my favorite thing. We'll see what that looks like. Do I think OG can guard Siakam? OG Anunoby can guard anybody in the league. Siakam will not be his biggest test. If OG Anunoby is going to be the primary assignment on Jason Tatum, he can guard Pascal Siakam. OG Anunoby is one of the greatest defensive players we have ever seen play basketball. You don't get too many guys that can guard 1 through 5 and be the best guy at doing all of those things. He's one of them. Pour one out for the Denver Nuggets not having OG Anunoby, by the way. That was a fumble during their draft. Here are my biggest fades right now. Mikal Bridges. Now, I thought Mikal Bridges was going to be very important in the Boston series. To a degree, that happened. Not necessarily the way I was expecting, but he was my linchpin. This series, I don't necessarily feel the same way about it from the matchups. So now, $8,200 Mikal Bridges, I am happy to not have. 32% owned, he's in 14% of my stuff. If I'm fading one of them, that's fine by me. I am light on Aaron Nesmith. That I actually love. Because if I'm going to get a lot of Brunson at the captain spot, intuitively, that makes me want to have less Nesmith. My assumption is we either get less Nesmith on Brunson, or today is a Nesmith foul day. Both of those point me in the direction of wanting more Jalen Brunson. So that is good synergy. TJ McConnell will have one day in this series where you want him. I hope it's not today. I am lighter on Brunson on the flex. I don't really care too much because I'm 2xing him at captain. So it's just a different kind of stand. Who's the greatest defender ever? Different kind of answers for different questions. The answer will be Victor Wembanyama if health works for him. I mean, like, you kind of got to look at it by era. Like, I'm in no position to say that the answer is Bill Russell, but he certainly needs to be in that kind of conversation. It's the best defenders ever are the ones that can guard everybody and do it well. Yeah, Pippen, of course, up there. For sure. I mean, Draymond would be an answer I would never argue with anybody for. You want to tell me that Draymond's the greatest defensive player ever? I'm in. But I think that inevitably the answer will be Victor Wembanyama with very little argument, barring health. Yeah, Hakeem, exceptional. See what my top lineup is. Brunson, Hart, Towns, McBride, Bryant, Halliburton. $100 left. Okay. We'll take a look at some of the ownership numbers on the FanDuel end. Let me see if we got a schedule yet that I can announce to you guys for today. I don't. So I'm just going to go with a guess. What does the MLB schedule look like today? I mean, I assume Laffy is going to have a show in 25 minutes. So you'll get the MLB strategy show at 11. Greg and I, or Eric and I have no idea who, will be on Live Before Lock tonight at 7:30. This game tips off at 8 o'clock. I wanted to hop on to playback last night for the fourth quarter. It was not necessary. Again, can we get a competitive game so that I can come hang out and play back and break down the final stretch of the game? It's 3 straight times now where I wanted to come back on and it's just not competitive in any way. Talus, Gary Payton is not up there. I don't say that to mean that Gary Payton wasn't a good defender, but he's not this. When push comes to shove, you can't have those conversations with Smalls. You got to be 6'7", 7-foot wingspan type dudes to actually have that kind of love. All right, FanDuel side. Your most owned MVP is actually Karl Anthony Towns. I think that's very reasonable. Towns is $1,200 cheaper than Halliburton and $1,600 cheaper than Jalen Brunson. Basically equal in ownership to Brunson, quite a bit ahead of Halliburton. Part of that sort of makes me more interested in Halliburton as the MVP as an ownership pivot. He's actually behind Hart as well at 9,200. Yeah, like I'm not like Gary Payton as a ball hawk guard defender was exceptional. But when you get guys like it's hard for me to compare someone like Payton to Drew Holiday because Drew Holiday can like physically hold up. The Jordan one is weird. It's kind of like LeBron. It's like thinking about it from a LeBron standpoint. If you're in a game and it's like the final 2 minutes, then yeah, like Michael Jordan and LeBron James defensively are different things. But when you have such a huge offensive load, you're also not going to be able to be that dude for every possession defensively. Yeah, Ron Artest is another great example of like guys that can guard up and down. Like it's never going to be a good scenario if Jordan's your best defender for 40 minutes. Same for LeBron. Because they also have to be the best offensive player for 40 minutes. And it puts you in a situation where like you never have the opportunity to recover. Final 2 minutes of a game? Yeah. Yeah, you're going to get your Jordans, you're going to get your LeBrons, you're going to get your dudes locked in situations where they need to be. We got to remember, defense isn't just this guy guards one guy and that's what defense is. A lot of these guys have different roles. The way that Draymond plays defense is very different than the way Rudy Gobert plays defense, which is very different than the way OG Anunoby plays defense, which is very different than the way Dyson Daniels plays defense. That's all very different. FanDuel value is going to be the trickiest part here. Whether that's $4,200 Mitchell Robinson, $4,400 Benedict Mathurin, $3,400 TJ McConnell, $2,200 Obi Toppin, $1,400 Miles McBride. I don't think you're doing Thomas Bryant on the FanDuel end. Could be an interesting series for Toppin, I guess. It's all going to come down to defense. Can Obi Toppin hold up in a pick and roll? More often than not, the answer is no. For whatever everybody thinks about Obi Toppin offensively, it's equally as bad defensively. You can make a case that Obi Toppin's the worst rim protector in basketball, regardless of size. He's so incredibly bad, it's insane. Will he be able to hold up in this series? We're gonna find out, that's for sure. I mean, he had some offensive explosions last year, but what does this team look like now with Karl Anthony Towns at center over Hartenstein? I think that ends up becoming a major issue in this scenario. Because guarding Hartenstein in a pick and roll with that like 6-foot push shot is going to be very different than Toppin guarding Towns in a pick and pop. At which point, it's probably going to get not great. I'm trying to find the... I'm trying to find Toppin's rim protection numbers, but he's so bad that he's hard to find sometimes. He's so far down the bottom of the list. All right, let's see. Obi Toppin. Where is it hiding? Why can I not get to his rim protection numbers? Like, he challenges less shots at the rim than Shea, and he's worse at it. Does Cat keep up his good playoff run? I don't know. Yeah, I know B-Ball Index has it. It's deeper than I want it to be. All right, can we have the Towns conversation? That's negative 1.7 EPM, negative 1, negative 2, plus 1, plus 3, negative 3, even. He's been fine. He's been fine. I think a lot of it's going to be how easy can the Pacers get to the rim? That'll be an interesting question. The most interesting thing that we'll talk about, though, today is this. The promo code is PGA Millie. That's one big word. PGA MILLY. Buy 2 months of a Stokastic Core All Access package. Get a month for free. So essentially, 33% off for the next 3 months. We're going to cover your entire summer. Baseball, the rest of basketball, the rest of hockey, golf every weekend, NASCAR every weekend, MMA every weekend. Dr. Rex Goodfellow picked up the Millie win in golf this past weekend. We are celebrating that by giving you 2 months for the price of 3. So come on in and enjoy it, everybody. Link in the description. Promo code PGA Millie. I'm not sure I have anything else here for this slate. I think that's going to be it. I don't have a great feel on who wins. I hope we get a competitive game. Either myself and Greg or myself and Eric will be back later today, 7:30 for Live Before Lock. But for now, everybody, good luck. Enjoy yourselves. Let's get some good basketball. I will be on playback later tonight. I'll see you guys later today.